Welcome to Own the Chaos. The stock market is crazy and chaotic.
And crash. You son of a... God. Hold on. Pause.
Brad and Fat Man Zoom are here to help you own it.
They were targeting Wall Street when they should have been targeting Capitol Hill. They should have been targeting DC. This is the same thing, and this is what people keep missing.
Taking it to the suits, being relatable and hilarious.
You bought GameStop at 400, didn't you? To the moon, baby, to the moon.
Get ready to own the chaos in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Own the Chaos, everybody. Hi, my name is Brad, and Fat Man Zoom, as you can see, is not here, but he's not gone. What's going on, everybody? So the market has been crazy, and we're here to help you guys talk about what's going on and what our plans are. But let me go ahead and bring in a Fat Man Zoom. There he is.
Let me in.
There he is. We already got a donation, bro. We got Shane says, lost all my money in the market today. Might as well lose my last 5 to support the channel. Brad looking like a snack today, too. God-damn. Appreciate it, bro.
Hey, did he even see you before he wrote that?
No, he didn't.
What are the chances that we make it through this live stream without any technical difficulties?
They're slim to none, I got to be honest. But it's weird. All of a sudden, the frame stopped dropping, so I think we're in good shape so far. So far, so good.
All right, can the people hear me?
Yes.
All right, starting 5. We have housekeeping, Sam Cisneros, Mysterious Gal, Savvy Money Show, Primetime DJs. You're our starting 5. We did not plan how we were going to do the thumbnails, but I think it might be a solo show for you, man.
That's
think
fine.
You might have to take on the thumbnail. So I can give you some topics. You can give me your reaction.
Let's do it.
All right.
Give me what you got.
First one we have here for your thumbnail pose is the remote stocks are back. Scoop them up. Or should you? Next one we have is Zoom, $14 billion acquisition, 5'9".
I don't know how you want me to do this.
That works. That looks good.
All right.
Should you short the market? Is it time to short the market? Well, you're giving away your answer.
I didn't say I was.
You had one more topic. What was your one topic?
Stocks to buy that have been beaten down today.
Oh.
That's the title of today's show, so we're just going to go with that, too. I don't know what I want to do for that. Or...
Okay.
But what's up, everybody? Yeah, it's been a shitty day. Needless to say, we got some stuff to talk to you about. I mean, the Dow was down as much as 1,000 points today. Fat Man Zoom. The S&P 500 is down right now around 2%. The Nasdaq is actually outperforming. It's down around 1.3% last I checked. People worried about this Delta variant, bro.
Yeah. It's interesting to see how it'll play out and how and why. Because for one, it's so hard to trust information. So
Yeah.
we could look at last year and we could try to base it on last year. But honestly, there was a lot of misinformation. So I think just trust in general is low in the people that are giving us information. But also, I mean, to me, I'm not personally concerned about it, but I don't think we will get to where we were last year as far as totally locking down.
Yeah.
But I don't think that matters. I think the market's going to do what the market's going to do. And if people are going to freak out, then that's what's going to happen. I think really the question becomes, well, how long will this last? Is this something that is just temporary or long-term? That's some questions we're looking to answer today. And what does that mean, obviously, for our portfolios and for how we're investing?
Right.
But I would say that neither one of us, this comes as a surprise. It's just more unfortunate than anything else.
Yeah, we talked about this last night. We talked about how, the chop will continue this week And then, we even mentioned that a lot of it could be due because of the Delta variant and how a lot of this may very well just be noise. I mean, you look at the way that we've seen variants come and go, and they are having less and less impact on lockdowns. And I think that, we should always take these types of things seriously. But I think also the other thing we should consider is just looking at how it's been treated in the past. This, I don't think, is going to be just like a round 2 of COVID all over again. And I don't think anybody should think that. None of the other countries that this is seriously affecting is even considering going back into lockdowns. We have the United Kingdom, Israel, even India are dealing with the Delta variant as well. And they have less exposure to the vaccine than the United States does. And they have no anticipation, or they have no thoughts on closing things down again either. So I don't think that, this is going to be something that anybody should be worried about as far as their stocks are concerned. I think this is going to be a short-term problem. And if we're looking at, outside of July, I think that August and September could be a really nice turnaround. And really the second half of the year, I think, is what should be focused on, and not so much this short period of time within the year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how what the narrative is around it. Somebody just wrote in the chat, I think it was Calm Down. Did you look into the severity of the cases from the Delta? The majority of the people who are in critical condition, did you see their vaccination status? I think that, so the issue here is, if you look back at COVID, the mortality rate as a percentage of population was not high. It was actually very low.
Yeah.
So my point in saying that is, I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
Like, again, to your point, it's what is a response to the government? And I think there's an issue here, or a concern here, which is they were slow to react the first time. So do they feel like they need to react just to react, or do they just go by data and just encourage people to get vaccinations and hope that data stays true, which is that the mortality rate is also very low, potentially lower than the original COVID vaccine.
Yeah.
Sorry, the COVID-19.
Yeah, a couple key statistics that I saw today was that there is an increase in COVID cases, and a lot of it's due to the Delta variant, especially in the United States. And but the majority of those people are people that are not vaccinated. The other side of that is that while we are seeing a spike in cases, we're not seeing so much a spike in hospitalizations. And I think that that's what a lot of the governments are looking at. And so when you look at some of those type of numbers that are coming in, is this something that requires a shutdown? And most governments are saying no. New York says no. LA County ended up saying that they're going to reinstate a mask mandate, but no signs right now of shutting anything down. So I think that they kind of learned a little bit from COVID as far as, the first time they shut things down, realizing that in certain cases it does more harm than good. So I don't think that they're looking to shut down businesses. It has to get really bad in order for that to happen again. And it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen this time around.
Well, and also we got to be cognizant of the numbers as well. Like, we also have to remember that before, a lot of people weren't encouraged to be tested. A lot of people, they said, if you have symptoms, stay home.
Right.
And so the fact that, again, it's the information, what is the right information? What is the true information? Because now people have to get tested for certain things. People are out. And so is it more contagious, or is it just that people are out now and there's more people getting tested than before? And so that's the challenging thing that we just don't know. But again, to your point, I don't see the governments looking to go at least as aggressive as they did when they just totally shut everything down. I don't know if they can even afford to do that.
Right.
And so it's about sort of the fear and how long the fear sticks with the market.
Yeah. And this is all to say, this comes back around to the market, guys. This is all to say that I think that this, for me personally, I was in a little bit more of a holding pattern today. I wasn't looking to make any moves in the market. I'm just waiting till the dust settles on this stuff. There's nothing that kind of really is telling me that I need to sell. And days like today, when you see a lot of panic selling, is the absolute worst day to sell, and really the worst time. I mean, I was talking to our level 3 folks and our chaos crew, and I was like, I've been through this before. Times like these where people are just selling out for panic and selling for emotional reasons is the absolute worst time to sell. You have to be able to see beyond that, see beyond what's going on in the 5 minutes of time that we're in, and this is just relatively speaking, that I think that this is just a short period of time, and that if you react emotionally like everybody else, you're going to get left behind. Tomorrow we could see a pretty decent bounce back, and I actually kind of expect that to happen.
Yeah, I do as well. I don't know if it'll sustain, but I do think we're going to have a solid day tomorrow.
Yeah.
Speaking of solid day, Nvidia, did it not so far play out kind of how we thought it would play out?
Yeah, absolutely did. Nvidia, if you guys didn't follow us last night in Stock Watch Sunday, by the way, give us a like, give us a thumbs up. We got 123 of you guys hanging out in here, 21 likes. So let's get that number up. We certainly would appreciate that. But yeah, no, Nvidia like knocked it out of the park this morning. And yes, we talked about this last night about a potential run up into the split. So if you guys haven't been keeping track, tomorrow will reflect the forward stock split on Nvidia. It's 4-1, correct?
Yep.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure before I just started throwing out the numbers. So 4-1, it's up 3% right now at 746 after closing last week, damn near $700 a share. And so this looks really good. We take a look at it here on Webull, and yeah, amazing day today. Curious as to what your thoughts are going to be for tomorrow on this, Fat Man Zoom.
I'm going to encourage people to watch the video that we released this morning, which was a clip from Sunday. But to sum it up, without giving all the reasonings, I think we see a sell-off. I think we see a good pre-market right at the bell. I think it could potentially be green, but I actually believe that moving forward for the rest of the week, we sell off, and that sell-off could be tomorrow.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I was watching a video on Jim Cramer today where he was talking about Actions Alert Plus, and he, interestingly enough, said he felt like Nvidia was still undervalued, and he would be buying Nvidia. Now, I don't think they look too much at like the day-to-day and like splits happen tomorrow or whatever, but he felt like it was undervalued. Well, be interesting to see, because I still feel like it's maybe a little bit. To me, I would be hesitant to get in today or tomorrow.
So there is no bigger bull on Nvidia than Jim Cramer, and he literally named his dog Nvidia. So I don't know if I would take too much that he's. I mean, in this specific instance, I think there could be some confirmation bias on Jim Cramer's part, but. I mean, there's definitely a case you can make for this to go higher, and I think it all kind of stems around this ARM deal. If that actually goes through, then this probably can go higher, and we talked about that last night as well. But in the short term, I think that we see a little bit of a sell-off as well. I think that the excitement from the split's probably going to wear off, and then it's like, okay, what's the next catalyst? And the only one that I can see really kind of moving the stock much higher than it is right now would be that ARM acquisition deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I don't know when they report earnings, but that may be coming up. I don't remember when they did, but
June was their earnings report. They reported earnings. Actually, I should say end of May.
Okay, so August, I guess, would be end of August.
End of August, yeah. Yep.
So yeah, I mean, and then that would be the next one, is to see how they perform for earnings. But yeah, there's nothing really else in the pipeline. We'll see what happens, but guys, definitely check out that video. We go into more detail as far as what's going on with the split, why we're excited about it, and how we're really our strategy as far as Nvidia is concerned. But let's answer the question that Steven Jackson so eloquently asks: "What we buying? What we buying?
What we buying?" I love it.
So,
I love it.
What I will say is, we talked about cash on hand yesterday. I still think, like, if you remember back to not like when everything was green, but we were trying to claw back from COVID, you had to exercise a lot of patience. I think now more than ever, you need to be slow and steady with this thing, and not just like see red and jump in, which is always a good thing to like buy on red. But I still think we have to be patient, but there's opportunity. So what are we buying on this Delta variant crash?
So I think that if there's two instances, if this Delta variant continues to become more and more of a thing and people become more worried about it, we can look towards some of the COVID type stocks, right? We're talking about Zoom, Clorox, Peloton actually is having a hell of a day today. It's up 6.5%.
Crushing it.
6.5%. So Williams Sonoma, all of those stocks that we've talked about in the past that would benefit from people staying home. Costco had went to record highs today. So those types of stocks are the ones that you're going to want to lean towards if you think the Delta variant is going to become more and more of a thing. Now, for me personally, and we just kind of talked about it, I think that the Delta variant isn't going to be as impactful as COVID was, and I don't think that we're going to suffer a significant shutdown of any kind. Maybe there's going to be some more restrictions in place, but I think it's going to be short-lived. So if you're in my camp, then I think that you have to continue to go after the stocks that you had convictions on before. And I'm talking about the reopening plays, Airbnb, oil. Oil got crushed today, and it wasn't because of the OPEC deal, because that increase in barrels per day was not of any significance. When you have 88 million barrels a day that are going to be produced and you only tack on 400,000 more, it's not really that impactful. It was the Delta variant because of, people concerned about demand in oil and travel, all that good stuff, which I don't think is going to be a problem. So I think OIH, XLE, those are the energy ETFs, but if you want more specific stocks, I think Halliburton, Schlumberger, or an Exxon or Marathon Oil are going to be good ones to go after and buy the dip on, because I think we do end up going higher. Batman Zoom, I mean, I think that demand for travel and just even domestic travel is still going to be pretty high, even if they slow down the international travel side of things. So I think that those are going to be good ones. The financials took a huge hit today because the 10-year yield came crashing down. So I think that the financials, the Goldman Sachs, JP Morgans are going to be good buys today, because I don't see the 10-year yield staying down here very much longer. I thought that the bottom might have been in on Friday. It ended up coming in a little bit lower today, which pushed financials down. But that, I think, also could be a really good play.
Yeah, you make good points. And going back to the beginning, as far as the remote stocks are concerned, I don't know if we should guess on what will happen. We could believe what will happen.
Yeah.
But if we have that belief, that just means we don't get out of what we're in. Right.
Right.
And so, but I don't think you or I are trying to bet on what the market's going to do. So if we were going to do that, we would go all in on the stuff we're in.
Yeah.
We are still taking kind of a wait and see approach. And so if Delta variant keeps running like the Pelotons of the world, Zooms of the world, we're not going to fight it, And so I think the key specifically for this is you got to get these stocks that are going to benefit no matter what. I don't even know if you need to go to speculative anymore, because there's some reliable stocks that are just on such discount and have such high upside that why not just stick to something a little bit more reliable, steady, that you can have confidence in. So you look at like Amazon. If we go to lockdown, let's say worst case scenario, Amazon's going to go off.
Yeah, through the roof.
If we reopen, it doesn't matter. Amazon's going to do really well.
Right.
So I think thinking that Peloton may be a little bit more risky if we reopen, but I think Peloton is still good for the long term. So I think if you have a longer time horizon, sticking to these companies that are more reliable. You brought up Costco. I don't think it matters that it's near all-time highs. No. If you look at the Costco's, Walmart's, Targets, I think those are all great buys, and you're hedging yourself a little bit that it doesn't have to we don't have to stay remote for them to do well. Peloton and Zoom, maybe a little bit more risky, because we saw how this plays out. Peloton's up 7%. If it turns out there's nothing to worry about, Peloton was probably going to give that back over the short term.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at some of the when we talked about this, about in the beginning of the year, we both admitted to being over leveraged in tech and really kind of over leveraged in the COVID plays that kind of got us to this point. But now I feel like I'm really, really diversified and have my stocks, my portfolios in different areas of the market that benefit no matter what. I have a pretty decent sized position in a firm, and I think that if things happen to lock down, that a firm benefits from that greatly. But I think it also continues to benefit because habits were formed during the pandemic, and that's not going anywhere. They're still going to experience some pretty decent growth. I was in Apple. I will come back into that, but there was another reason why I was in Apple, big tech. I'm also in Penn National. I'm also in OIH, which is energy, and then another epicenter type stock that got beaten down because of COVID. So I think that I'm just really well rounded right now, and I got no reason to sell any of the stuff that I'm in.
Yeah. I don't think either. I haven't even looked at my account at all today. I will tell you guys, it's beat up. It's beat down, actually. But now's not the time for me to bail on any of my convictions.
Yeah.
Because nothing's changed. So with that being said, speaking of remote stocks, I wanted to bring to the table Zoom. Zoom had a major announcement yesterday that they had made their biggest acquisition in company history, right?
Yeah.
So Five9's a company, $15 billion nearly. It was
huge.
An all-stock deal.
Huge.
And to me, the key here is all stock. Depending on who you ask, some people would say that is a telling piece of information to the negative.
Yep.
Some people will say it's to the positive. You just have to determine what it is. But it is a huge acquisition. So Five9, cloud call center for enterprise. And this makes a lot of sense for Zoom. I think the acquisition is great. The value is what you're trying to figure out. Did they overpay? Did they not overpay? Should they have paid cash or not? I think that the market is trying to digest this. And I think it was down over 5% today. It's cut back into it about 50%, only down 2.25%. I'll tell you what, though, I'm just happy they're doing something. I know $15 billion is a lot. They paid basically everyone who has a Five9 share will get 0.55 shares of Zoom. And essentially they got a premium of 15%. When you're buying things like, people talk about negotiations. And one thing you learn about a negotiation is a successful negotiation is neither party felt like they won, neither party felt like they lost.
Yeah.
So if you feel both ends of that and you're a little bit uncertain about it, that means that's probably a successful negotiation. For Zoom, that's kind of how it feels. Like they needed this acquisition. This was great that they made this acquisition. Enterprise solutions is really where their opportunity lies, really their customers above $100,000.
Yep.
And so they're showing that they're being active to grow it and not to just rely on video services, but call center services and cloud solutions. But then on the flip side, it's like, okay, yeah, you're doing things, but you're paying a premium on it. So it feels both sides. I say I like this move. To me, Zoom is still a buy, especially because you're kind of hedging with this Delta variant situation.
Yep.
I think eventually, just like with Slack and CRM, I think the market's going to digest it. It's not going to be a big deal after some time.
I think so too. And there's so many other good things going for Zoom. I imagine that when we see the earnings from them, that all of this won't matter. And really Zoom's starting to come back today and actually could potentially close the day green. We'll see. It's down 2.33%, but it has been clawing its way back from 343.82 at the low of the day and now sitting at 353.69. So, this looks actually pretty good. It looks like it's having a pretty decent comeback here late in the day. It's 3:56 p.m. Eastern time, Fat Man Zoom, and we do have one earnings call today. That is IBM, and their estimated earnings per share are at $2.07. So we'll let you guys know once those earnings come through, give you our reaction on those. How do you feel about IBM, Fat Man Zoom?
Indifferent. No, this is an important quarter. They had a new CEO, which we talked about last year. We liked the new CEO.
This is like your low-key sleeper. This was your low-key sleeper for this year.
It was.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of nervous this earnings because last earnings was kind of a coming out party finally had profitability, had growth, where IBM had been downtrending for so many earnings. And so my thing is, like, what are the expectations of the market? And we've seen this play out before, where it's like, once the market figures it out, sometimes like just outperforming is just not enough. You got to blow them away. So IBM's this quarter is going to be really interesting. I'm excited for sure, but I'm like cautiously optimistic. I worry that they're not going to be able to wow analysts. But for the rest of for the regime change, I think the next couple of years, a long-term investment, I see IBM turning it around and having a Cinderella story like Microsoft did when they turned it around.
Yeah, this came back and kind of retested its support around 136. And we'll see where this goes from here. But if they end up having decent earnings, this could actually have a pretty nice, decent run. There's plenty of upside here, but it's kind of hanging right in the middle between the 50-day and the 200-day moving average. So this has plenty of room to continue to correct after it's had a monster move over the last quarter and a half. But it looks like a pretty decent buy. We'll see what it looks like after earnings today. But I agree, man. This new CEO is definitely trying to change it. Some of these old technology stocks that have just been around forever are starting to reinvent themselves, and IBM is one of those ones that we've seen that happen with. And we could, I think Intel's still very much in that conversation as long as they can somehow figure all that out. But IBM should do. I think it should do well today. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I see Don Fran's in the house. What's up, Don Fran? I see that Esteban Castillo is asking if DriveShack is still a strong conviction. Hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you have to understand that with the Delta variant, DriveShack is going to get hurt. But again, based on everything we said at the beginning, it doesn't make me want to sell. I am strong conviction on it, but I now have to realize that I have to be a little bit more patient. I do not have an interest in doubling that, like in adding on to it. I'm just going to stick to my position and just let it ride.
Yep. And that's kind of what I've been doing too. Like I said, just kind of sitting on my hands and just waiting to see what opportunities are out there. And like I said, looking for decent dips. I still anticipate a pretty decent bounce tomorrow, but I'm curious to see if we see it roll over or if it just kind of levels itself out. So we'll see what happens. Next week, I think it'll be when we start to see things start to recover a little bit. We'll see some earnings come out. I think that we'll kind of have a handle on how the Delta variant is going to impact the economy. It was interesting. Biden came out and talked today about the economy in general. Had no mention of any kind of shutdown due to the variant. And so I thought that was interesting that he didn't talk about it at all. I think that that's probably more of a positive than anything, that the president was not mentioning the COVID variant and how it's going to impact the economy, and that he felt very positive and strong about it.
A few notes as the market closes. Tesla ended green today, promising my so far my 2 of the 5 stocks from Sunday looking really well, playing out beautifully.
Yeah.
Bodes well for Tesla for the rest of the week off the full self-driving news. And then Amazon tried to make a run back. Penn green, and surprisingly Clover was green, which made 0 sense to me.
I know.
Unless you consider it a stay-at-home, like, because it's fintech health.
Yeah.
Sorry, not fintech, but health tech. But I was still surprised. I thought, based on its speculative nature, it would get demolished today.
Yeah.
It started the day horrible, like everything else.
AMC, it did take a big dump earlier and then ended up closing the day. I think, did it close the day green? Let me see. I think it closed the day down, but it actually tried to claw its way back from the open this afternoon. So some of the quote unquote meme stocks also had a pretty rough day. AMC came all the way down to 31.15, bro. Wow. It was just at 72 not too long ago.
That's wild.
Yeah.
All right, you want to pull up IBM chart?
Yep, let's do it. Okay. Let's take a look at IBM here on the 5-minute chart. So we have earnings coming up on this. Officially, the market closed today, obviously, on the red side of things, but not quite at its low of the day, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check. It looked like we had a little bit of a comeback later in the day. Yeah, so the Dow closed down 726 points, down 2.10%. The S&P closed down 1.5%, actually tested the 50-day moving average. So be curious to see how that looks, and I'll give you my thoughts on the S&P as well. But closed down 1.5%, over 1.5%, and then the NASDAQ actually outperformed everything, closing down just over 1% on the day. Crude oil is down to $66 a share, or $66 a barrel. I think that has a huge comeback, down 8% on the day, Fat Man Zoom, on oil.
Yeah, Marathon Oil was like down 5, got beat down.
Yeah.
But speaking of the markets, you know, Ross Matthews, shout out to him. He's been talking a lot about in our community about the SQQQ, which is a 3-time leveraged reverse ETF of the Qs. And one thing that was interesting about that was I'm curious, like in my mind, I'm thinking like, is it time to short the market? And if you do, how do you do it? And I would say I'm strongly convicted. I think the SQQQ is where it's at because we're seeing the growth tech and NASDAQ, like the volatility, the beta of it. If it's running hot. If not, it's going to go down further. And so I don't mind that play. And I'll be honest, like people who are short term, want to take that gamble, which to be clear, I think it's a gamble. If you really feel bearish, I think that's a great play to make. The only thing I will say regarding that, which for me, I was bearish today and I almost considered getting into it.
Yeah.
But the reason why I did it is because, you know, to me, it feels like I'm playing against myself. It's like you're betting on your team to lose. Yeah. And there's some people who are successful in it. Don't get me wrong.
Betting the unders,
when I try to do that, I feel like that's when I get myself in trouble. So I would say that if you feel confident that this Delta variant's here to stay, you could potentially, or if there's going to be some more choppiness around it, you could potentially short-term do SQQQ. I think that could actually do well.
Yeah.
But you got to be you have to have a belief in it. I'm not willing to short it only because I think this is kind of a nothing situation.
I think you have to have a short leash on the SQQQ for sure. It almost, for me, would be more or less along the lines if you're looking to make a day trade and be in and out.
Yeah.
You just never know what's going to happen the very next day. So, there's definitely an option, you know, if you're having a tough day and you just kind of want to play the inverse. That's definitely something you could consider doing. I almost kind of wish I would have done that on Friday, but Friday was such a shitty day that I was like, well, maybe we see a bounce on Monday. And of course, obviously that didn't happen, but yeah, it's definitely an option if you're looking to kind of play the downside in the market on a specific day, but certainly wouldn't hang in that long.
Yeah, I don't think over the weekend's a great thing to do, but if you want to do it within the week, like you said, even a day trade, the remote stuff and just like the reaction is, I don't want to say it's been predictable, but it's followed certain patterns and you could potentially do that. But shout out to him. I think he's doing really well on specifically the SQQQ. So or SQQQs, I don't know the way to say it.
Shout out Ross Matthews. Yeah, Don brought up a good point too. As far as the leverage ETFs are concerned, the decay factor. So that's definitely something you also want to consider when you're trading those things. And that's why you wouldn't want to hold on to specifically leveraged ETFs, especially those 3 times leveraged ETFs for very long. Good options for day trades, probably not something you want to hold on to forever. All right, checking back in with the charts here on IBM. Doesn't look like there's any real numbers here on this just yet, but it's kind of been floating around between going green versus red. So it's been a little bit all over the place here. Pretty typical after hours trading on a day that you're expecting earnings. So we'll see how this plays out. But so far, it doesn't look like we have any actual numbers on earnings. Tom Post says, hey, all from the UK. What's up, Tom? We got so many people that watch us from across the pond. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. We got 168, 169 of you guys hanging out in here and 64 likes. So thanks so much for hanging out. If you guys are just joining us, we're going to give our live reaction to the IBM earnings. This is the start of earnings season, so it's going to get pretty crazy here. We go live at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time every single day of the week. So we encourage you to hit that thumbs up and subscribe to us if you guys are looking to hang out with us in after hours and kind of give our reaction from the market overall, and then also give our reaction to any of the earnings that come through. I guess I should rephrase. Monday through Thursday at 3:30 p.m. we go live, and then we're live on Sundays too for Stock Watch Sunday to kind of give you a snapshot of what we're expecting throughout the entire week. So make sure you hit the notification bell as well to get notified every time we go live, at least when YouTube decides to do that for you. But we certainly would appreciate it, guys. All right, so it looks like IBM's earnings might be out here. Pretty decent drop off here. It's now down 2% after hours, Fat Man Zoom.
Yeah, I thought it was 4:10. I thought it was in a couple of minutes, but I haven't seen anything yet. I'm on Twitter, so we'll see.
Okay. Yep, it's like all over the place right now. Now it just went green. Some pretty erratic trading here. Usually it's pretty typical. We see a lot of this after hours on earning days.
I might have something.
Yeah, thanks, Savvy Money Show.
Just basic numbers, not yet the actual earnings per share numbers. Wait, do I have them? Yeah, I do have them. Just can't read it. What was it? 147?
Yeah, Arfin's got me. They beat their 229 estimate. Estimated earnings per share at $2.33. Sales come in at 18.7 billion compared to the 18.29 billion, and IBM is going the hell off, Fat Man Zoom. Now we're up 2%. Closed the day at 138.18 and now at 140.75.
Nice.
Shout out, Arfin. Thanks, bro.
Cloud and cognitive software up 6%. Global business up 12%. Net cash 17 billion. Total cloud revenue trailing 12 months is up 15%, which is really good.
Yeah.
When you're talking about a big company like this, a value stock essentially, Red Hat, which is their marketing arm, is up 20%.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty big.
Profit margin 48%, which is good. And they reduced their debt by 6.4 billion since the end of 2020. So year to date. It's
still rocking here. We're skipping dollars at this point. It just gapped up to 141. Now pulling back here. So 141.50 on IBM and having a little bit of a pullback. But man, what a move on that, Fat Man Zoom. Pretty good numbers. Pretty good solid numbers for IBM. Tomorrow, what do we got for tomorrow's earnings? Do you remember?
Yes.
What we got?
So, no, I don't. I can pull it up. Hold on.
It's all good. So, just looking at the numbers here, we got IBM's continuing to climb here after hours. It's now up over 2% at 141, but it's looking good here. Looking good. Yep, it's continuing.
All right. So tomorrow pre-market we have nothing really Halliburton. But after hours, we have a lot. We have Netflix, United Airlines, Chipotle.
Yeah.
Those are probably the big ones.
Yeah. Yeah. Halliburton's tomorrow pre-market. That's right. Schlumberger is later in the week as well. You guys heard me talking about OIH. Both of those companies are in the OIH ETF. So we'll see what the Halliburton numbers look like and what their outlook is. I mean, it could certainly impact OIH as well as some of the other stocks that are in that ETF. So be on the lookout for that if you guys are along the ride with me in OIH. But yeah, Netflix should be interesting. I mean, we talked about that on Stock Watch Sunday, but man, that'll be something that we give our live reaction to tomorrow after hours live.
Nice. Let me just check the chat real quick. How many people we got in the house?
We got 164 of you guys hanging out, so thanks for allowing us to be a part of your afternoon. 79 likes. That's what I like to see. Let's get that. Can we get that up over 100? That certainly would be sweet. Got 21 to go. If we can get up over 100 likes before the end of the stream, that'd be awesome. Just helps us push out the content a little bit more, help support the channel. We certainly would appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good for me, man.
The IBM trade here, let's just take another look here. It is continuing to climb up after hours, after a pretty decent beat here. It's now up almost 3% after hours. Man, and still climbing, Fat Man Zoom. Could this be the turning point that the market needs? Does it all rest on IBM? That would be awesome if it did. But we'll see how tomorrow shakes out, guys. Again, a tough day, but I think that if you have your emotions in check and just kind of understood and looked at this from a 30,000-foot view, I think you're going to end up being fine. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll be back here tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Fat Man Zoom's out of town all week, so we're going to have this dynamic here. And
I'm in New York, baby. I'm all over the place.
He's got mini Zoom up there, and we're gonna make this all work still. So we certainly appreciate you guys. We'll see you tomorrow again at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you want to be a part of the channel membership, hit the join button next to subscribe. We put out a daily watch list out, as well as trade alerts, access to my portfolio, and our Discord. All that good stuff you get as part of being the channel member. Help support the studio you see behind us, the channel, all that good stuff. We certainly would appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hit that like button on your way out. We certainly would appreciate that. That's going to do it for us. Thanks so much for hanging out.
Bye.
Peace. Bitches.